This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 395 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Total Saddle Fit, and Uncle Jimmy's brand products. Today we are interviewing physical therapist Jody Swimmer about some physical fitness advice, and we're going to bring you the 12 days of Christmas dressage riding tips.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, Phil, we missed you last week.
I'm glad that you were able to put on a show without me.
I know. It was Glenn and I. It was old school, good old days, but it was fun to hang out with Glenn, but we certainly all missed you guys. Missed you and Meredith last week.
Well, we are back. We survived. We didn't, fall into the ocean and get swept away or anything. So,
that's still my bucket list. Oh, I want to go there. You guys go to the coolest places. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a bucket list thing for us as well, and we ended up just saying, let's just do it. We went to the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador, and now that's off the bucket list. I think
I love it.
You just have to. Do things.
Yeah.
I think.
What was your favorite animal that you saw?
I don't know. I'm really a kind of a bird guy. So along with the Galapagos trip, we did a birding, a day in sort of the mountains of Ecuador outside. We first flew into Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, and it is very high in the mountains. So we got a chance to do some a day trip there before we flew out to Galapagos. And they have such amazing, cool birds in Central America that, there's like 6 varieties of toucans. There's all these tanagers. And that was really awesome.
That is
and Galapagos, I was sort of expecting, you see the giant tortoises and the wildlife, the blue-footed boobies. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all really cool. And, you can just, the cool part about Galapagos is, they have, these animals and they're sort of weird, but you can just walk right up to them. They just have no sense of that people are dangerous, because
sure.
They haven't been preyed upon. There's not too many predators in that part of, in that world that. So, that's the cool part of Galapagos, is that they have interesting animals, but you can just go right up to them. And so I think the funnest part, and it was also scary at first, is, you can get in the water, and we did, quite a bit of snorkeling, and the animals will just come right up to you. So, these sea lions would just come and think that you're cool, that it's cool they want to play with you, and they want to, obviously you can't swim like a sea lion. They're really fast, and they can just be really agile and really neat. But it was very weird at first, but then you just sort of you just go with it.
Yeah,
because they're not they're not really dangerous or harmful, and they're sort of used to playing with people. So that was really fun.
That's so cool.
I would recommend it. Highly recommend it. You have to be sort of good on a boat, and okay with that, because that's how you get around. It was such an experience. We had some.
Yeah.
Meredith posted some great photos that we took.
She did. Beautiful.
There. So.
Really cool.
It was warm and the water's beautiful, and then I had to come home, and it just turned into
cold
winter.
I can't. It's not even. I can't even imagine how cold it is for you. It is. The high here today was 16 degrees. So.
Actually, it was about the same. Actually, temperature-wise, about the same, but it was blowing snow like crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. Yeah. I'm counting the days till we leave. I'm not gonna lie, but I think the only real news that came out that we didn't announce last week was Robert Dover was announced again as chef de keep of the U.S. team. So that was really exciting for all of us. We're certainly on a really good trajectory when it comes to news. I think, Phil, that was the only thing you missed last week. Really, there was nothing else really going on. It's pretty quiet. Vallegro retirement
yesterday. Retirement ceremony yesterday.
Was it yesterday or today?
It was. What's today? Thursday. I think it was
We're
Wednesday.
recording on Thursday, yeah. And that horse did so much for all of us. I think everybody had a little piece of that horse, and how he changed dressage in such a good way that horses can be horses and real athletes and beautiful, and really harsh techniques aren't needed to train horses. So I think that horse did so much for the sport, which is why we're also sad to see him go. But I am so glad they're retiring him on top. That's awesome. Very, very.
I can't wait to see Charlotte's next horse.
I know.
And Carl Hester, I think he was showing his horse and won the actual Olympia CDIW at that time. So I think the whole Charlotte Carl team is just on top right now.
Alive and well, yeah. That's very cool.
Very cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's about it in dressage world, don't you think?
Yeah,
Until
I think so.
January, and then it gets crazy ramped
and
up.
then it gets everyone's a little bit the calm before the storm. So, Phil, do you have a New Year's resolution for all of us?
I think I'm just realistic that if I try and make one, I won't stick to it. So I love it. Fine. I think I'm doing fine. We're just sort of just talking to each other, reviewing our 2016.
Yeah.
Personally, professionally, and I think both of us had a pretty good year.
We did. We really did. Our horses were really good, and knock on wood, that continues for next year. And I always, until I actually achieve this New Year's resolution, mine's to be on time, because I have a little always trying to be on time. So until I can achieve
that's hard to do as a trainer or as a horse person, because horses are always trying to throw a monkey wrench in our plans, right?
It's so true. Well, us who have barns and horses and dogs and cats, and I do not have children, but I can only imagine. And yes, I would be very late. Then I would have something to blame all the time. But no, for sure. So I have to keep working on that until I actually achieve that. So
a life pursuit.
It's a life pursuit. So that's it. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up for you, because the season is going to be busy. What's your plans?
Well, yeah. So we leave for Florida right after Christmas. So we're taking 7 horses this year, which is I think really going to be a nice amount. And Elin Court, our horse that everybody loves, is we're formulating his plan this year. Phil will be part of that when he comes down, but he'll for sure do the Intermediate 1. And then we have to decide with him. I really want to use Florida for training and really pushing to get him really solid sort of in the Grand Prix way. And so we'll just kind of see where we decide. And then I have my new horse coming. I'll have to post for you guys.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yes. Follow Me is a 4-year-old Westphalian. I can't remember if we talked about it on air, but
I think we have. Just a little, Mikey because coming? When you finally confirm the purchase, and we had a little chat about that.
Yeah, so Mikey gets in, he flies in. Thankfully, he was able to stay with my trainer, Michael Klemke, which is not a bad place to stay in Germany. So he's been in Germany, sort of made sense to send him to Florida instead of kind of all over the U.S.
Then he can fly right into Miami, right? And
it's a much easier trip for him. So he'll do that. He flies on the end of the month, and then I can't wait. I'll get to pick him up on New Year's Eve. That won't be a bad way to end 2016. And then the rest of the horses, they all have different goals, and it sort of depends. Some are just training, some are going to show a little bit, some are, I'm looking forward to doing more long lining lessons with Richard and Merlin, our wonderful Frisian. So it's going to be a really good season. We've talked about it, and I am certainly lucky enough to make it work, but as we all know, going into winter, you sort of either have to embrace the winter and know it's going to be training, and you're not going to be as consistent as you want because it's cold, or
you
just sort of have to embrace it. Or for us, we can really say, okay, this is a time to really ramp up and do some training. So that's kind of what we're up to. So that's the plan. So I'll keep you guys all up to date with that for sure. So it should be fun. So yeah. That's what we're looking
for. All right. Well, what do we got on the show today?
Well, right after this commercial break, we wanted to get into the spirit of fitness. And so we have Jody Swimmer. She is a USDF bronze and silver medalist, and she's also a physical trainer, a physio, a physical therapist. And so she is going to come on the show, and we're looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
Happy holidays to all the listeners of the Horse Radio Network from your friends at Kentucky Performance Products. Kentucky Performance Products cares about the health of your horses and knows you do too. May you and your horses and ponies have a very happy and healthy holiday season and a fun equine-filled new year. From all of us at Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com. Happy holidays, everybody.
I have a friend on the show, Phil. Her name is Jody Swimmer. She is a bronze and silver USDF medalist, but she's also has a doctorate in physical therapy and a master's of arts in exercise physiology. Hi, Jody. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we are so looking forward to it. And Jody and I show together all summer, and she lives she lives in Louisville. She's about an hour from me. And I tell you, Jody, if I were closer, we would work every day together because you're so cool and so motivating. And I wanted
thank you.
Come on, because this is our last show before the new year. And I'm trying to think twice while grabbing for all of the Christmas cookies. But
right.
we wanted to talk a little bit about just some common injuries you see with riders.
Certainly. I'd be happy to discuss any questions you might have.
Awesome. So let's just get started. What is like kind of the normal, thing that your injury that dressage riders have that maybe we can prevent or kind of help us out with that?
Sure. Well, I think that one of the things that might be chronic with individuals, especially the older adult amateur, could possibly be their lower back or their hips, maybe even some knees and ankles. But, primarily because, of course, we're trying to ride with our seats and stay out of the horse's face. I think that we might compensate in some areas that we may be having difficulty with. And we do see some hip issues and lower back issues. And sometimes even I've got a patient now that is having some upper back issues from a horse that is pulling too much with her. And she's a very, slightly built individual. So it always goes back to our core reefs and also stretching and strengthening and looking for those holes in our body that we may be exacerbating the holes in our horse or vice versa.
That makes total sense.
Sometimes it's really good just to have, I know as an amateur, I always want someone on the ground, eyes on the ground to help me and, help me learn things that I don't know how to do on the horse at this level. But also sometimes it's good to have someone objectively just go over your body. We do everything for our horses, but sometimes we need to have a professional go over us and go, wow, you know what, that hip abductor, the muscle that takes the leg away from the body, which we don't really use when we ride. It's kind of on vacation. It needs to get a little stronger. Maybe that'd be part of the problem. Or maybe because we're in a flex position when we ride, our hip flexors get very, very tight, and then that pulls on the spine. So there are things that we can look at and then give you, based on your individual needs, just like you do with your riding, how we can help you fix that.
So Jody, I have a question. If I were to go maybe tomorrow to a physical therapist, how are the ways that you would assess someone's strength and their body and how they use it? What is that process?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, as a physical therapist, we are going to look at your musculoskeletal system. We're going to watch you move from the very beginning, just like when you watch your horse coming out of the stall. Therapist is going to watch you stand up from your chair and walk to the room with you. So we're analyzing your gait mechanics, we're analyzing your leg position, your foot position, your back position, your shoulder, your chest, your postures. So when you get in the room, of course, we're going to listen to you and listen to what areas are ailing and problematic and when they hurt and what relieves it and that sort of thing. And then we're going to actually take you through movements where you're bending forward and bending backwards and you're rotating your spine and we're looking at your balance. And then we actually assess individual muscles and tease those muscles out to figure out what feels tight, what feels not as strong. And then we're actually going to put our hands on you as well and check your spinal mobility and feel how your spine is moving. watch you move, look at your strength. So it's a full analysis. And then there's also something called a functional movement screening, where we actually look at challenge you with your balance on not just one leg, but on all fours. And it's, there's different ways that we do that. And of course, the test becomes the exercise on many days. So if you're having trouble standing on one leg, we're going to teach you how to do that with good balance and safely. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, think of it, a lot of our listeners, sitting at a desk all day, it's cold now, they drive to the the barn to ride. What are some things that maybe proactively they can do to help with the hip flexors, help with the low back? Like, what would you suggest?
Well, first of all, when you sit all day, they say the sitting is the new smoking, which is, dangerous and poor for your health. So the first thing you would want to do is just stand up and sit down every 15 minutes. And it's just as simple as that. Even if you're on the phone, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. But, that elusive half halt is really, because when I first started dressage, as you know, I switched disciplines in my 40s. But what the heck is this half halt thing? Well, it's actually a posterior pelvic tilt, and that's just flexing the hips forward. And so you can do that in your chair if you have to sit a lot, and that's going to actually flex the lower spine and relieve some tension on the lower back. So just, really just standing up and then sitting in your chair while you're driving the barn, practice your half halt, practice your routine mentally, do some mental things, but also just standing in a lunge position next to your desk will stretch your hip flexors out. You don't have to go lunge down the hallway, but just some lunge positioning will stretch the hip flexors, and doing some heel raises and then stretching your heels off the edge of a step, things like that will stretch out those calf muscles as well. Or just leaning over your legs, sitting in a chair. Yeah, right?
Yeah, right now. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I better get up and start heel flexing.
Yeah. And also just sitting in your chair and actually like looking over your shoulder, or twisting your spine. Look over your right shoulder. Look over your left shoulder.
Doing it.
Lean down like you're going to pick something up in your chair. Flex your spine. Move your spine in all directions.
That could be I'm not doing that in this interview. That could be a disaster area. Just saying.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We've ridden. Do you recommend some things after we've ridden now? So now we've gone to the barn. We've done our stretching. We've done our routine during the day. What are some things maybe after you ride?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you, you need to drink a lot of water, especially in this weather. We don't realize that we do get dehydrated. And if you've had a particularly hard lesson and you start cramping, like, your hamstrings will cramp, because there's a big muscle called the adductor magnus, that also has a very large component of the hamstring. So as you know, as we're riding, we're using those adductor muscles, and they're going to get tight, and your hamstrings might get tight. You might even cramp a little bit. So just lying on your back, and when you're not at work, or if there's not a gym or something at work, or if you can't do it before, in the barn or whatever, we always suggest for your back health, everyone should do it as a proactive treatment, is some pelvic tilt on your back with your knees bent, and then take that into some bridging where you squeeze your bottom and you raise your hips up off the ground, but you do it segmentally, vertebra by vertebra, so it massages the spine. And when you get done with that, then you can do your hamstring stretches just laying on your back there. And I'll tell you what really works great to stretch your hamstrings is an old stirrup leather. You just take an old stirrup leather that you're not using anymore, and you buckle it in the last hoop, wrap it around the bottom of your foot, and stretch out your leg.
Oh, I never thought about that.
You don't have to buy any special equipment. Yeah. So there's 15, 20 minutes a day in the morning or at night for some stretching and some just some bridging activities, some core training on your stomach as well, some shoulder stretches. Really go a long way. Really, really, really go a long way. I'm not going to tell the general public to start planking, because I'm very, very picky about how people plank.
Yeah, I'm not going to Jody. Let's just be real here, people. I'm scared from my office. She's
Sometimes
picky
it
about
makes
it.
my eyes bleed. Yeah, I'm picky. But that's why you go to the professional for those, to again analyze what's going on, and to work on the hip abductors, the muscle where you leg lift to the side. Think Jane Fonda, but do it lying up against the wall, because that will hold you accountable to your positioning. Because otherwise, everybody's going to do it wrong. Why? Because the body takes the path of least resistance. and we'll go forward where the quadriceps kick in, and most people's quads are pretty strong. So, there's some leg lifting to the side, but you want to lean against the wall so you keep everything in alignment. Yeah.
This is interesting. This is really good. So, when should somebody be consulting with a physical therapist, or when do people come and see you?
Really, we're now saying in the state of Kentucky. I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the state of Kentucky, we actually have we've got good lobbyists in the Physical Therapy Association, and unless you're federally funded, in the insurance plans, if you have an insurance plan, you can actually see a physical therapist without a doctor's prescription. So if you don't have insurance, or if you don't have a high deductible, most outpatient facilities will actually have like a direct access fee, a flat rate. And it's really advisable to go at least once a year. It's kind of just like a wellness checkup to see, am I getting stiff in my neck? Am I getting stiff in my upper back? How are my hips moving? Do I have a spot that's really, oh, wow, that's why my hip hurts, because I can't pull it across my body. Sometimes, unfortunately, we wait until there's a big problem. Let's not wait for big problems. So, a tune-up is a great idea. And again, a good physical therapist will be able to teach you and watch you plank and watch you do the more advanced techniques and skills we would expect of our equestrians to be able to perform safely and correctly, and see if, I'm not keeping that pelvic tilt when I'm in my plank. Oh, that's why my lower back hurts when I do it, that sort of thing. So, if you have any question at all, call somebody, call a professional.
So we were having an interesting conversation, before we came on air about horse training and people training, and how it can go hand in hand, and how maybe the horse's weakness becomes your weakness, and so it sounds like a physical therapist should talk to your trainer as well. Can we talk a little bit about that conversation we were having?
Yes. Of course. I don't know. In America, we have a lot of horses that are hollow on one side and stiff on the other. And
I think that's the world over. Yeah.
So we don't know sometimes is the horse stiff on that side, and am I making it worse, or am I making it better? Am I twisting my body and I'm not getting them to bend their rib cage and that sort of thing? And so when you're in those stages of training, like myself as an adult amateur training their own horse, kind of, trying to figure it out. Am I twisting my body? How much am I twisting my body? And is that why my hip is hurting or my lower back is hurting, because I'm not staying in good alignment? So, we could be exacerbating our own conditions, and we could be exacerbating our horse's conditions. So it's really hard to fix the horse if you're not fixing yourself. And we have a saying back in the old PE days, you don't get in shape playing your sport, you get in shape to play your sport. So, we really recommend that even the professionals do some fitness activities that will enhance their riding. And it doesn't have to be a huge workout, but especially as we get older, we're kind of like in that maintenance mode a little bit. But, can you still do push-ups? Can you still do sit-ups? And sit-ups, it's an urban myth that a sit-up is unsafe. So, again, make sure you're doing them correctly. And, definitely look at what are my weaknesses, and is it making my horse's weaknesses and stiffness worse? What can I do to fix this? How do I keep my shoulders lined up and my hips lined up without twisting? Because I think a lot of us do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like you said, there's complementary approaches, and it's about total rider fitness. As professionals, we tend to just ride horses, and then like you say, we can get a little bit crooked or a little bit. So I think I might be booking an appointment with a physical therapist. You've inspired me.
Awesome. That's wonderful. I was going to say, a physical therapist in our Practice Act is that we also follow up our interventions, our manual interventions, with corrective exercises. So unlike some other Practice Acts, that is definitely within ours, as well as other things such as dry needling, trigger point dry needling. So if you have your neck is sore and you just can't get it to release, we also do soft tissue mobilization with tools and that sort of thing. So we have other tools in our toolbox to get the job done.
Awesome. I think we might have to have you back on to talk about some of these other things as well. So if our listeners have any questions or want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
My name is Jody with a Y, Jody, and my middle initial is G, Jody G Swimmer, just like it sounds, SWIMMER @gmail.com. Jody G Swimmer @gmail.com. I'd be happy to answer any emails that I might receive.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and a privilege.
Hello, folks. Uncle Jimmy here, and welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy brand products, where funny names mean serious products. Featuring Uncle Jimmy's Squeezy Buns, the squeezably soft hand treat that your horse will love. The award-winning Uncle Jimmy's Hangin' Balls. Uncle Jimmy's Sugar-Free Ball. The incredible Licky Thing, also in sugar-free. The amazing Uncle Jimmy's Pecker-Wrecker, and the Big Licky. The infamous Uncle Jimmy Hangin' Ball was first designed by me for my own horses to help reduce the bad habits which come from stall boredom. It now can be found around the world. This nutritious, flavored, filled boredom buster will help keep your horses occupied and happy around the clock. Properly hung, it will last for weeks, provided you don't let your horse pin it, and Uncle Jimmy knows who you are. The ball comes in 4 flavors: apple, carrot, peppermint, molasses, and now sugar-free. Once again, welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy's brand products, where funny names mean serious products, and satisfaction is 100% guaranteed.
Well, for this week, Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week, Phil, Justin sent us a new product. Can you tell us all about it?
I know. I love it when Justin's coming up with new ideas, and
I love it with Justin.
Yeah, and he sends us the new products that we can try out. So we've each had this. It's a new girth.
Yep.
It's the same shoulder freedom girth and all the benefits of the original shoulder relief girth, but it's synthetic, and it brings you an antimicrobial, easy care, and budget-friendly option. So it's cheaper than the leather version, although you still get all the same shoulder relief benefits because of the design and the shape of it. It features the buckles offset from the center of the girth, which redirects the billet line of your saddle and prevents the saddle from interfering with your horse's shoulder. It has strategically placed cutbacks to give you the total elbow freedom. It's made of reinforced and padded synthetic body, elastic buckles, and fully compatible with a custom-shaped fleece cover. So you can buy the cover as well with it if your horse is a little, gets irritated by synthetic products. But I've tried it on a horse, and I've had no issues with rubbing or moving around, or it sticks the saddle in place. It stays in place, and it's been an awesome addition to our tack room. So I really have to thank Justin for that, and we love all the great products that come from Total Saddle Fit.
We totally do. And, I use that one, Phil, I'm using it on my Frisian, actually, who we do have, I have trouble a little bit with the saddle shifting left and right. And this has really made a big difference for us. So it really works because Merlin's a little bit hard to fit that way. And it's made a big difference. So as always, love Justin and what he comes out with. That's really cool.
I actually put it on a Frisian too because of the same problem. No wither on the horse, and the saddle goes left and right. And so I thought, if the saddle can hold this in place, it's a great product, and it really has. So thank you for Justin for solving a problem.
I know. And I can hose this one off. Justin was horrified when I told him I daily hose off my leather girth. He was like, "You what?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry. Oops, shouldn't have told you that." But it holds up great. And this one is meant to be sort of hosed off, and it's really good when they get really sweaty. So
rough and ready for that, and for all of our budget conscious riders who want to try out a new girth, I would highly recommend this Total Saddle Fit product.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, Phil, in the spirit of Christmas, we have a really fun list from the Dressage tipsters that we wanted to read because it's really fun and very holiday-esque. So go for it, bud.
Well, she's put together the 12 Days of Christmas Dressage tips, which we thought was, sort of pretty appropriate. And you can find the Dressage tipster on Facebook, and we've had her on the show before, and these are, always have great information and help for your riding. And so we thought we'd bring on the 12 tips. Are you ready for the first day of Christmas?
I am ready.
I think the first tip is very appropriate. Above all else, ensure that your horse is forward.
Oh, love it.
We never talk enough about that, and I'm sure everybody who takes lessons, is tired of hearing it. But
We don't care.
every horse I sit on, from the first step, is like, will they react to my leg and stay in front of my leg? So that's great.
I love it.
On the second day of Christmas, find your horse's natural rhythm. So I think this is really important because people who don't ride a lot of different horses have to really think, okay, their horse has a particular rhythm. As a coach, I'm always trying to help people find what is the best rhythm for their horse in walk, trot, and canter.
Yep.
And everybody always says, oh, I would, that's a little more forward or that's a little bit slower than I would have thought, So eyes on the ground helps a lot with that. And,
Yes.
Because it's not always what you think it should be. So,
Sure. Especially I find with horses that are really behind the leg, with my students, they, instead of getting them, they'll overcompensate the other way and they'll almost get the horses running off their feet, which isn't working either. So.
Yeah. They don't need to rush a lot, but, that's not the definition of in front of the leg. So,
right. Exactly.
How about the third day of Christmas is promoting relaxation in your horse. You have to think about breathing when you're riding, the way in which you ride a horse. You have to always be thinking towards relaxation because it's very hard for anyone, a horse especially, to learn anything if they're not in a relaxed state of mind. So I think we always have to return towards that, especially when we're teaching new things. That can be a difficult process of learning a new thing, but not getting frantic about it and new moves. I think that's what we're doing a lot over the winter for my students, thinking about the next level and learning new stuff. And the horses always have a tendency to get a little bit hurried or rushed in their state of mind. And that's you won't get a whole lot done if that's the case.
That's true. Very true. Love it.
We're going to have 12 days of Christmas here.
I know. It's so great. This fourth day.
Make your best effort to perfect the shoulder in. There you go.
I love it.
The shoulder in is almost the most, or one of the most important moves, more than, trap air or half pass, or, we're always returning back to shoulder in all the time. I know that I am in the training as the horses learn. It's not just a second level movement that you can do and then you move on. It's always trying to make it better, and you ride it all the way from second level into Prix St. George I1. So,
and it's a building block, or the mother exercise. It's you
the mother,
really have to,
exactly.
It's kind of like in cooking. It's one of the mother sauces. It's a really important one that you gotta do right. So I love it. All right, the fifth day of Christmas.
Pay attention to your geometry.
Ooh,
oh
yeah.
My goodness.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I really like that one. That's true. It's just really something we hound it into your students. I'm sure everyone's heard it from their own riding professionals, but it is so important. We cannot hound it enough. And even in my own riding, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I have to be like, oh my God, what was that? That circle was awful.
Yeah. For me, I think one of the toughest things is the 10-meter circle.
Yes.
Always tends to be a little
bit
8 or 12 or not quite, flat on one side and round on the other, or drifting here. And so 10-meter circle is, again, another foundation movement that you can always work on all the time.
I agree.
All right. How about the sixth day? The quality of the following pace is wholly dependent on the quality of the present pace. So we talk a lot about transitions, but I think this tip brings it back to your trot's not going to be good, and your transition is not going to be good if your current walk is not good. And, upwards or downwards transitions, that people have to focus on what they're doing right now,
right,
and then on what they're going to be doing next. So
it's true. And the as you go, it typically doesn't get better. Like your walk's not going to, improve. If you have a 5 in your walk, you're not necessarily going to go and be able to get an 8 in your trot. Like, much better start with a 7 and get another 7 or 8. It's hard to.
Yeah,
it's hard
absolutely. I think, I'm always telling people that you want to start with a 7 or 8, not get, find yourself in trot and then fix it. And then you have your 7 or 8 for your quality of gait. I mean, that's always harder rather than just saying, okay, I have a great walk and now I'm going to do trot. And then
I'm going to have a great trot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, fix where you're at and then fix where you're going to be.
Fix where you're going. Love it. That's a good one.
All right. The more you slow down the canter, the more impulsion your horse needs.
Yes.
For 7. So this is a tricky one because it seems counterintuitive, but the more you try and collect, the more energy you need. That's the way I try and say it in
thinking
my
activity. I would say the horse needs activity.
More jump, right?
Yep.
What I see a lot is people try and collect the canter, and then the horse starts to rock a little bit up and down. Where you get the pull up, and then the croup up, and then the pull up, and then croup up, and that's not how the canter should be.
Nope.
So and people, that's sort of what I would call sort of a false collected idea. Instead of the horse just staying croup down. The pole you can play with a little bit. I always, I want to be able to put it down a little bit, put it up in the canter a little bit. As long as the croup stays down, you're good to go, and your hind legs working underneath you and being active, not trying to get out the back.
You would tell me to kick it. You'd say, kick him.
Yeah, send the horse a little forward. Yeah, increase your impulsion, make more activity.
Yep.
And then you can try your collection again.
Yep, that's true.
All right, here's the 8th day of Christmas. Do not begin a half pass if your horse's gait is not energetic.
I love it.
That
could go for not just half pass. I mean, that could go
for everything, right?
Everything,
if you don't have energy, don't start something that's going to suck the energy away. And again, the same thing. I'm telling people that Travers or half pass are naturally collecting exercises. The horses always back off a little bit when you give them something hard to do, right? So it's always good to start with a little extra. So if you do lose a little bit, you're not going to be in a trouble spot of the horse stopping or being too slow. So I like that tip a lot. These are, the dressage tipster always comes up with great stuff.
So good job. We love him. Like him on Facebook. They do a great job. Okay, I think we're on the 9th day of Christmas.
The 9th day of Christmas. Only when you have perfected simple changes or canter, walk, canter, and you can canter always in a relaxed manner, can you ask your horse to begin the flying changes. So it goes along with everything else. Like you can't skip steps.
Right.
You have to do 2nd level before you can do 3rd level. And I know people love to skip 2nd level because it's the tests are hard and sort of weirdly written and, very, I call them like tic-tacky because you're always going here, then going there, then here, and those 3rd level tests have such a nice flow to them and you can really show off your horse's gaits, but you have to be able to do 2nd level before you can do 3rd level. You don't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty darn close.
60%, because that's you got to be able to do it. But the only thing I would add to this, Phil, and I know this is maybe going off on a little tangent, but I, on a young horse, will start flying changes. Not that they have to be perfect, but that they do go across the diagonal, do a flying change, just so they learn. But that's like when they're 4. That's definitely something that I will play with a little bit early. But once we go back to doing changes, then I think the tip completely applies.
Yeah, what I would say, for people who are, tackling 2nd level and maybe in a little bit of rut about it, get your trainer to ride your horse a little bit.
Yes.
So that they maybe can introduce a little bit something different, like a flying change, or to work on your simple changes for you a little bit, because it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to stay, in the same place for a couple of years or feel like you're not making progress. So it doesn't hurt for your horse to get a little bit of extra training. I know that, I like to have the collection a little bit confirmed before I start the flying changes, but normally I can, with a horse and developing the training, I can approach that at the end of their 4th year or their 5th year.
Yeah.
And so, it has to be with somebody who knows what they're doing, because there's something that can go really wrong. So
and flying changes can go really wrong pretty quickly. I'm sure we have a lot of nodding their heads right now. Flying changes are, you need support with them. And I think it's something that you really should work closely with your trainer and, send your horse if you can for a month or two to your trainer, because that's a time that it's really hard to learn and teach them at the same time. So even if it's like a little bit of a financial commitment, it may be an easier thing for you down the road if your horse just learned that or gets a good foundation and then have you come back on.
Yeah, I mean, again, we could have a whole show on flying changes, so which isn't really the purpose of the 9th tip.
So the 10th day of Christmas.
The 10th. Above all, the turn on the haunches, particularly if being used to prepare for walk pirouette or half pirouettes, should be thinking forward.
Yeah.
So I'm with it.
Yep, I would say active too. I think you need the word active.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, and we've talked about this before, make them big. If the horse is not active enough or you haven't confirmed sort of collected walk, make your turn on the haunches and your travers, just, make it forward and big, and you can work on getting it smaller later on, because what you do not want the horse to learn is to spin.
That's so hard to fix. That's hard to fix. And then your trainer's going to be like, that's hard to fix. Don't do that.
So these tips can help our fellow trainers out there.
Yes, we're welcome. It's Christmas gift to your fellow trainers. All right, Phil, on the 11th day of Christmas?
11th day, to create impulsion, it may be necessary to drive the horse forward, increasing tempo, and then maintaining energy produced. Get the horse going forward, increase the tempo, and then later you try and slow the tempo with the same energy. So, that's a little bit towards the discussion of teaching horses to lengthen instead of and we talked about this maybe even 3 weeks ago or so about, it's okay if the horse rushes in the beginning. You can deal with the tempo later, right? Don't let the horse stay behind your leg. Let them rush the length and diagonals for a while until you can get that sorted out, because they have to be thinking forward to do it. So,
yeah, love it. And our final is a good one. 12th day. The 12th tip,
yeah. And this one applies, I think, to all riders, all disciplines. Try to train your horse to be sensitive to the aids, so you don't have to be kicking and pulling your way around the arena.
I love it.
I think that's just being very conscious of it and working on it every day and helping the horse to learn what leg and contact means.
Yep.
Working on the basics, right? Stop and go.
Working on the basics. I love it. Well, that was super fun. And always, the dressage tipster, they come through on the 12 days of Christmas. So I love it. That was so fun. Very cool, Phil. Well, everybody, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me on the internet is usually through Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for allowing us to put on a good show, and don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody from here at the Dressage Radio Show, Philip and I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. And we can't thank you all enough for being part of the show and listening to us every week and spurring us on to come on. And we really enjoy this time that we share with you all every week. So we do wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And we will talk to you. Happy New Year. We'll
be with you in 2017.
2017. Enjoy the holiday program we have coming up for you in the next couple weeks.